Awesome. Hi, guys. Welcome to today's Product School Talk, and thanks for joining us. I'm Cassandra, your community manager. We got online just to make sure that you can see and hear us, so I'm going to check really quickly, and it looks like everything's running great. As many of you know, we teach product management courses at our campuses in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, and New York. And thanks to our awesome community of product managers, we're able to host these talks for you to share more info on how to get a job in product. So I'm here today with a very special guest. We have Dan Corbin. He's the Senior Director of Product Management at ReturnPath, and he's here to give you some insights on mastering the product interview. So welcome, Dan. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks. Should I go ahead and start sharing and kick it off?
Yes, absolutely. And
all right.
Guys, while he's sharing his screen, following his presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A, so you can type in your questions right next to the YouTube video in the chat.
Great. So again, my name is Dan Corbin. I'm the Senior Director of Product Management at ReturnPath. I'm located in Austin, Texas. I run a couple product meetup groups here, and I'm also a product management instructor at General Assembly. Before I kind of dive in, I just want to note we are hiring a product manager. So if you're interested in ReturnPath, what we're doing here, and living in Austin, be sure to check out our career pages. So what I was putting just a little bit of background on this presentation, because I do a lot of mentoring, I wanted to kind of help people go through and quickly learn what they can expect when they go into interviews. I do a lot of interviews here. I kind of help a lot of people, and I've gone through a lot on my own. So I put this together after doing, using my own experience and doing a lot of research of what I've found work best. So hopefully it's useful for you. But let's just kind of dive right in. So there's going to be a variety of questions that you're going to be asked during your interviews. And let me just go back. Real quick, the learning objectives, we're going to cover types of questions, best ways for you to prepare, and then we're going to wrap up with just a bunch of different resources that you can take and use for additional training on your own. So the first type of question that you're likely to get is product vision questions. So why are you asked such things as what's your favorite app or what's your favorite product? Companies want to see your appreciation of well-made products and that you have a passion for great products. That passion is absolutely essential for people who want to be successful in product management. Excellent PMs are constantly on the lookout for great products in all aspects of life. So you're going to get asked that. They want to see if you have a sense of product vision, or what I refer to as your product eye, being able to kind of discern what makes a good product and what doesn't. Can you look and understand what makes a product different than its competitors, or what else it might be offered in the market? Can you offer ideas on how to improve your favorite product? And then can you also not only look at good products, but look at bad products and identify like where they went wrong and critique what they could have done better. So some simple examples are listed here. Could you design a bookcase for children? How would you improve Microsoft PowerPoint? So it can be difficult to answer product vision questions because they can be very broad, and you never know like what is the subject or context that you're going to get when you walk into the interview. So it's best to use a simple framework. The one that I think works best was formulated by Louis C. Lin in his book Decode and Conquer. He came up with the circles method, and we'll go through each step of that. But I want to start with a warning. Knowing each step of the circles method is not enough. You need to practice for it to truly be effective. So the one thing I also like about this method is that it prevents you from immediately diving in and offering up solutions. I sometimes hear that when interviewing product managers for ReturnPath, and if someone doesn't kind of go through different steps to assess the product and the market and the customers, and immediately just starts offering solutions for whatever product vision question I offered, I know that they're not going to be a good fit for ReturnPath because there's a lot of steps before you get to what might the possible solutions be. So let's take a look at those. The first letter is C in Circles method, comprehend the situation. So you really want to identify 4 things, which is the 3 W's and the H. What is it? Who is the product for? Why do they need it? And how does it work? These are actual questions that you should ask to get clarity and context from the interviewer. They may or may not answer these questions. They may just answer 1 or 2 or answer them half-heartedly. What you can do, though, is take what information they give you and then kind of go off and make certain assumptions based upon, whatever market it's in or products in general. And then later on, you can show like how you would validate and test those assumptions. But you first need to understand and get context around the product. Next, you want to identify the customer. A product cannot be everything to everyone. You need to narrow your focus, and I find it best to identify some personas. So a good things that you're looking for in a solid persona for your key target segment is, what are their pains and frustrations? What are their goals and needs? What are their behaviors? And maybe even some demographic information. All of that combined is going to be able to help you solution and target it towards the right people. The next is R, which is report the customer's needs. See, this is where you're going to kind of expand upon their needs and start detailing some of the problems that they face. A good way to do this is by using the Agile story format as a blank, I want to have some sort of goal so that I get some sort of benefit. This not only shows an empathy for the end customer and your target audience, but it also shows an understanding of Agile principles, which I think is another absolutely vital skill set for any effective product manager. So next is another C. You need to cut through prioritization. You won't have time to explore all the possible enhancements for whatever products, product you're presented with. And you want to take an opportunity to show that you know how to prioritize. So you want to be able to come up with some sort of matrix. Okay, looking at this problem, and you may just do an effort versus impact quick prioritization and assessment. You maybe just do a simple pros and cons list, like well, if you were like, how would you improve Microsoft PowerPoint? You could kind of go through and say, okay, well, for PowerPoint, these are the main users. And if I was going to create a solution for how to improve it, I would target this particular user because, and show why that you chose that audience, maybe sales and business people over teachers or students. One part of this step is important to show that you are data-driven. You can kind of go through and explain your prioritization, but make sure that you maybe name 1 or 2 metrics or key performance indicators that you would use as benchmarks when making your decision. Talk about how you might go about doing some A/B testing to gather the data that you would need to prioritize properly. Next is you're going to go through list solutions. So only after you get through those previous 4 steps do you start discussing the solutions. Again, I see this a lot where people jump right to the listing of solutions, and I know, nope, this is not the product manager for us. Once you get to this step, a couple suggestions is to think big. Really try to incorporate all of your knowledge of tech and consumer behaviors. Think about future trends. Companies want to see that you have a strategic view, that you can think long-term and kind of tactically, which is in the shorter term. Also, try to come up with at least 2 or 3 different ideas. You'll find that your first idea is really the best. And I see this all the time with our team. We will come up with one idea, but as a group, we kind of iterate upon that idea, and usually our last idea, the second or third, is much better than the first. So try to have multiple ideas and for what the possible solution could be. The next step is E, evaluate trade-offs, and you're going to want to define how you set your trade-off criteria. Again, this is another opportunity to be data-driven. Are you going to be making your trade-offs based on user acquisition goals, potential profit, return on investment, how difficult it is engineering-wise, how quickly you can get to market? So when you do your evaluations, you want to kind of talk about each of the solutions, the 3 solutions that you're able to come up with, and just do a list of pros and cons. One of the cool things about this is in analyzing, critiquing your own solutions, you can show that your products or your ideas are not precious, that you're willing to go with what is going to work best. That's a good quality in a product manager, to not cling to ideas. You want to be able to pick apart and really test your own assumptions and ideas. And in doing that, you're leaving the interviewer less to criticize. They want to see that your mind is working that way, that you have good analytical skills, and that you can criticize and critique your own work. You want to summarize your recommendation. And this is where you kind of do the whole, you show the whole product vision. Talk about which product you'd recommend, recap how you got there, why it's going to be the most beneficial to the end users that you decided to target, and why you preferred this solution as opposed to the others. So again, here's the full circles method. If you want to learn more and go deeper, I recommend reading Lewis Lynn's book. One thing I will advise for this: really exude confidence as you go through this process. Try to make it conversational, as natural as possible. Don't really go step by step. First, I'm going to comprehend the solution. Please answer these questions. Next, I will identify the customer. You want to go through the process, remember the circles method, but do it in a very natural way. Another type of questions that you're likely to get is behavioral questions. So why do people ask this? They want to be able to fact check your resume and gauge your impact. They want to see that you can name an obstacle that you had, that you encountered issues at work, and that you were able to overcome them. It's also an opportunity for you to show how well you can communicate. Product managers are constantly having to explain complex ideas to a variety of different stakeholders. You're going to have to speak to a number of different audiences and know how to speak to each audience effectively. So being able to talk about the work that you have done in the past, and how you showed initiative and really tell a compelling story is really what they're looking for. So let's say I mention a story. A really powerful way to illustrate your experience is to kind of do it in a story way. This is an idea that I got from Charles Du. I'll mention his online training later, but I think it's really fantastic. He suggested being very specific. Really kind of go in, describe the role and challenges that you had, and just add lots of detail. It kind of makes the story more vivid. And don't just expect to come up with a story on the spot. Practice, think about some stories that you want to share and practice them ahead of time. Go into your interview ready to talk about the skills and contributions in a way that the interviewer is going to leave remembering that story. All right, another recommendation from Charles Du is to, right before you answer the behavioral question, you want to ask, what are the top 3 qualities you look for in an ideal candidate? I have done this in interviews. I've recommended other people do it, and it really does work. You're basically doing discovery on the product, which in this case is you. You want to know what the viewer is really looking for. So you can do this, and you can justify it by saying, in order to make my answer more relevant to you and to the company, what are some of the qualities that you're looking for in an ideal candidate? And then say they are looking for, well, we're looking for someone that's really data-driven, who can really get out and evangelize the product, and who has also worked with this specific type of technology, or whatever it may be. You can weave in some of those qualities into your story, and it's just going to further reiterate why that you are probably the right person, or possibly the right person for that job. Another type of question, instructional questions. So you'll get questions, how do you make a cup of coffee? Companies are going to ask these type of questions because they want to know if you're detailed oriented. They want to know if you can put together complex ideas in a user story so that engineers can understand them and that you can communicate the process that's happening to your variety of stakeholders, both internal and externally. Again, this goes to the ability to communicate well. That skill, being able to communicate across a variety of different audiences in different situations, is vital for a good PM. So ways that you can go about answering instructional questions, do it in a very organized, structured way. You want to be able to show that you can break work down into smaller chunks. That's an agile principle that any product manager needs to know if they're going to be able to create effective user stories. You also want to be able to include the right details. And when I say details, I mean specific metrics. So if it's about, ironing, how do you iron a shirt? You want to, specify, okay, how high should the ironing board be compared to your body? How long should you let the iron warm up? What are the settings? Be very specific because you're going to want to be able to use and be comfortable using a variety of different metrics when you're doing product management on a day-to-day basis. And then in another agile fashion, make sure that you're gathering information as you go through. Ask the interviewer if they have any clarifying questions. Do you want sugar or milk in your coffee? Things like that. How hot do you typically like your coffee? So go through, get that clarity, because the same way that you're going to be asking feedback of your interviewer, you're going to need to be talking and communicating with your engineers to make sure that you're building the right things at the right time. Another type of question is estimation question. So how many golf balls can you fit in a bedroom? And this is done to see, to really gauge your analytical skills. They want to see how you come up with the answer, and then if you can follow a logical process. Now, they're not looking for, if you go through the exercise and say, I think it's going to be 322,000 golf balls, and they come back, nope, 318,972. That's really not what they're looking for. They're not looking for a specific answer. They want to see how your brain works, that you can handle simple math, that you can start determining market size or potential return on investment, things like that. Data companies like Return Path are more likely to ask estimation questions because you have to be able to be comfortable using basic math and analytical skills. So these type of questions can really give a quick insight on how comfortable a PM might be in that sort of world. So some tips on answering estimation questions: get clarity, rephrase the question. If there's anything ambiguous, try and figure out. When they talk about money, are they talking about profit or revenue? Is it just the US or international market? Is this just an online website or is it mobile? Those are the type of clarifying questions you want to ask. For your estimation part, kind of write down all your assumptions. Show your work, show the numbers, show the variables, show your formula. Your formula, again, doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to kind of show how you're going about it. Finally, you want to do optimization. Think about edge cases and adjust them accordingly. So if, how many golf balls fit in a bedroom, like, okay, well, the average twin size bed is this size. If we account for that, we have to then remove this many golf balls, same thing for the dresser, whatever it may be. At the end, you're always going to want to tweak and massage your numbers just a little bit. So interview preparation, make sure that you understand the product at a deep level, use the product yourself, try to use it in all the different user types that you can, understand the full product suite, how they relate to each other, know the competitors, how does the company differentiate themselves from their competitors, how their products differ, know the customers in the market. Who are their target customers? How might that change in the future? Like, for example, if you're interviewing at Whole Foods, okay, who are their customers now? How might that change now that Amazon has purchased them? What might the future hold for the customers, and how might that change their market size or the type of market that they go after? To try to figure out their revenue. Are they making money? Is it profitable? How might they increase their market share? How might they increase their margins? know what the popular or the opinions are of the company and the products. Do people love it? Do they hate it? Why? What's the public perception? And then finally, try to understand what are the most important metrics for them. Are they looking at engagement? Are they looking how many returning users? How many new active users? What are the metrics that are driving their business at that point in time? So I included some recommended books. Cracking the PM Interview, Gail McDowell, a lot of great advice in that. Any product manager, if you haven't read Inspired by Marty Kagan, please go do that right away. I mentioned Lewis Lynn, Decode and Conquer. Product School also is coming out with their own book on how to become a great manager. So you're going to want to check that when that's released. If you're looking for online training, Udemy, I really like Charles Du's course that he's here. Now it says $200, but if you sign up for their newsletter, you can get it for as low as 10 or 15 bucks. I went and I took this in to kind of vet it to see if it was good for my students at General Assembly and the people that I mentor here in Austin. And I really liked it a lot. And I thought he has great experience and a lot of really good tips for what to do and what not to do. This page, and we'll make sure that everybody gets it, is kind of like a one-stop shop for your interview prep. You're going to have different checklists that you're going to want to go through, lots of different sample questions and other advice for how you might be able to go about landing the interview, and then where to find product manager jobs online, where they're going to be listed. The only one I'll point out here is if you're practicing for the interview, check out the PM Interview. I love it because it just puts up, you can specify the type of questions. You know, we went through some of the interview types. If you really want to practice product vision questions, you can do that. And once you go through, and it's just firing out questions to you every time you press return. Once you do that and practice and practice and practice, and you're comfortable answering any question that it can send to you, you know you're ready to go in and crush that interview. So to summarize, do your research, be prepared. A product manager that's not prepared is not a great product manager. You don't want to be lumped in with that group. Understand the different types of questions that you're going to be asked, then go out and practice, then practice some more, and then when you're done that, practice even more. So that's all I have. Let's see if we have, maybe we have some questions I can answer.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much for that presentation. Yeah, we do have a couple questions coming in. One quick thing before you had mentioned some tips you had when it comes to putting together your resume. Can you talk about that really quickly while we wait for a couple questions?
Yeah, so right now, because we have a product management position open here in Austin, I'm kind of going through, and one of the things I advise my students, and this specific presentation is one in a series. I have one like how to land a job in product management, interviews, and then like lots of tips on, okay, resume and getting your foot in the door. But for resumes, make sure that you, when you're listing your experience, you're not just listing your job responsibilities. Go through, talk about the impact and the outcomes that you helped achieve at that job. You know, did you increase the number of users? Did you reduce churn? Did you increase profit? Did you increase profit margins? Did you, whatever it may be, have some sort of quantifiable metrics that shows this is what I did at this job. Because otherwise, if it's just like I managed this, I oversaw this, I planned this, it doesn't really tell me anything. And it's not going to tell the other interviewers. So show your impact, and you're guaranteed to stand out, because I've seen a lot of resumes lately, and most of them lack that basic metrics.
Awesome, good advice. Thanks for that. We had another question come in that I think is really on a lot of people's minds. So this is from Mir. What are your top questions for the company as a candidate? So assuming that you like the product from the outside looking in, what information are you looking for from the company?
So what do I ask? So on behalf of the company, of what I want to see in a product manager?
let's say you're in the interview as a candidate for a position. What are some top questions you would ask?
Oh, okay. I think it's very important for a product manager to be successful. We're often referred to as the single neck to ring. So you're responsible more than anyone else for the success or failure of a product. So I would start to question how their product management organization works. Do product managers have autonomy to make decisions? Can they run an agile process without maybe the business coming down and saying, stop what you're doing, work on this? Try to dig in to figure out, are they metric driven? Do they have objectives and key results? What are their KPIs? If they don't have a really good structure and a really mature product management kind of best practices, it might not be a good fit because I mean, personally, I think if they don't have that, chances are you're going to be associated with a failing product, and that's not a bad thing. Most products fail, but follow those best practices, they're more likely to fail faster than others.
Okay. Good advice. And then we have another one here. Okay, this question's from Crystal. For someone getting into the tech field, what is the best way to get exposure to understanding the industry as a whole? Do you recommend starting out in a position like Scrum Master before product management?
So product management sits at the center of a lot of different things. So product managers in the middle, and around it you have sales and engineering, and then business leadership, and you have your client customers, you have customer support, you have marketing. So you can kind of come into product management from any of those areas. I think the key thing is understanding the product mindset. Understand that you're out to solve problems. So I would recommend I know people that have come in and been product managers from the tech side, sales side, marketing, customer support. Some have MBAs, some don't have college degrees, some were Scrum Masters. So there's different ways to do it, but I do think it's important. What I recommend people do is if they're trying to get into product management or further their career, there's 3 steps. First step is understanding. So that's knowledge. Learn as much as you can. Read, take classes, take online courses, check out, product school, General Assembly, whatever your training opportunities are. Take advantage of those. Join meetups. Learn as much as you can. Apply what you learn. Even if you're not in a product position, you can still do product management. I see people that have gone in and they're doing sales, but they're using techniques and frameworks that they learned in the product management training to assist the product management side, and they end up moving over. Same thing for customer support. So I think overall, there's a lot of different ways to get into product management, and I literally have a whole separate presentation on that. But I would say start with just learning the basics, reading the books, start with Marty Kagan, get involved in the local product management community, get as much training as you can, and start applying that.
Great, awesome. Thanks for that. We have about 2 minutes left, so we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So I'm going to check through here because we have a couple really good ones come through. Let's see. So here's from Nathan. I've been freelancing and building and managing web and mobile app development for 7 years. How do I parlay that into a product management role? And basically, how do I put this on my resume?
Mm-hmm. So sometimes, it's very frustrating for people that are trying to get into product management when they look at job descriptions and every single one says needs 2 to 5 years product management experience. Right. So it's kind of like that catch-22. How to become a product manager if I haven't been one? You have to really connect the dots. So someone in Nathan's role has been doing a lot of product management just, kind of off on his own in consulting. So being able to identify, these are the skills they're looking for, and this is how, whether it's project management, assessing the market, at different writing user stories, you have to kind of connect the dots and show that what they were doing, even though it may have been called something else or in a different realm or department, is very relatable to product management. So that's one way. I do think that if you can start a side project, not something that you actually need to bring to market. Maybe you use a website like Extensio and just put up a landing page and put out an MVP. Show that you have these product management skills. And so you can, again, show your work. You want to be able to say, like, okay, I had this idea. These are my assumptions. I went through, I tested them. Turns out I was wrong. There's already that problem isn't as big as I thought it was. But for Nathan, I might recommend kind of helping connect the dots, reading product management job descriptions to see, like, okay, actually, how does that relate? It might be called something different in what I do, but also emphasizing that he has like kind of an entrepreneurial startup background, because a lot of entrepreneurs then go in and become product managers. That's another way to get into product management.
Right, exactly, which is something that we say a lot too, is to build your own side project or build something if you want to get into the field. Then that usually helps get your foot in the door. So we're out of time for questions, but thanks so much for taking the time to present today. Everybody loved it. We're getting a lot of great feedback. One last question for you from us is, what advice do you have for aspiring product managers?
You need to be constantly learning. I want to see in any product manager that they have a motor, that they have a fire in their belly, and that they have a curiosity, because that curiosity is going to propel them forward. So don't be afraid to try things, experiment, get outside your comfort zone, whether that's, trying something new at work, maybe a new way of doing retrospectives, or getting out and doing presentations or presenting on something that, is still somewhat new to you. So I get out there, challenge yourself, and don't be afraid to take chances. Awesome.
Thank you again for your time today. And thanks to everybody who joined us. As some of you noticed, the SlideShare deck is in the description on the YouTube video, so you can get it there. I will share the other deck as well, so that you can get the links on that resources page. And if you want to get more information about Product School, go to our website, productschool.com. And we also have a Slack community, which you can join as well. Thanks so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next time.